Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to the School of Radiance podcast. I'm your host, a humble human on a mission, here to help you both look and feel your best. Today's episode is all about why I took a break, the power of rest, fun, and recharging for true radiance. And this episode is prompted by one of my longtime one-on-one clients, Laura. This show goes out to you. We did a follow-up and she said, Rachel, I haven't seen your videos for a couple of weeks. Where have you been? I was wondering if you were okay. I was like, well, actually, I was taking some time off and having some much needed fun because I had just wrapped up some really complex things behind the scenes, some restructuring as well, to make space for this next exciting time in my life. And if I can do it, you can do it too. And for us ladies, these are things that we do actually need to do, especially as we shift through perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. The guys, the gents, not so much. You pretty much have your hormonal rhythm every 24 hours. And us ladies, we go through big shifts, big time. And when those shifts happen, we have to learn how to listen to ourselves, to adapt and evolve so that we can continue to look and feel our best and be our most present, pleasant selves. So welcome back, everyone. It's good to be here. And taking a couple weeks off, I actually haven't had a proper holiday in a really long time. We're talking years. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, the type of holiday when you're in the sunshine and you actually can finish a book in 3 days, that kind of holiday. And boy, did my mind need that. And it was so divine, so much fun. And reading, it's such a simple way to calm your mind and really get you into that rest and recharge mode. Read a book over a weekend, or when you have a long weekend at home and do a little staycation with some biohacking, with your sauna, with your cold plunge, with your adaptogens. And shout out to today's sponsor, Organifi. They make incredible adaptogens. I've been using their adaptogens for years. Organifi, spelt with an I. And in particular, their creatine, collagen, and Shilajit. I am obsessed with their products because adaptogens help your adrenals. Because when life happens, because life is going to happen, it really just supports your adrenals so that you don't deplete your mineral stores. And because that's what happens. And your adrenals sit on top of your kidneys. And when cortisol rises, then your adrenals get tanked. And with that, your mineral stores. So that's why I love to consume the Shilajit gummies to give my body some essential minerals, and the creatine to help my muscle repair and recovery. I also find that I get a little bit more energy when I'm sitting at about 3 to 5 grams of creatine a day. And I really like their creatine gummies. And of course, collagen, we need this. There's also cognitive benefits and research to creatine, not only for building muscles, which I have built, and we also want to support our mind, our cognition, if you will. There's been some cool research on creatine and cognition. And then, of course, collagen for soft tissue, for the skin, for visible skin changes. We want to be looking at about 10 to 12 grams of collagen a day. And in the serving of Organifi's collagen products, it has that, which is incredible. Most collagens on the market actually only have about 3 to 4 grams per serving. So to really hit that daily quota of what's going to be providing visible skin changes in about a month, that's what the research says, you need to have 3 to 4 scoops of that product a day, and you're going to be going through collagen that you might have already in your cabinet a little too quickly. So that's why I like the Organifi collagen product. And of course, their adaptogens too. There's adaptogens in their glow formula, their pure formula, their greens, really great lineup. They're super tasty. I think they're absolutely delicious. I barely drink alcohol. I'd rather have something that's going to taste good and also be great for my body, which is why I love the Organifi products. So head on over to Organifi, spelt with an I.com/Varga, and use promo code Varga to save 20% off on your products. And they've also added a parasite cleanse to their mix. This is a great time of year to do a little bit of reboot. We're at home a bit more now. Things are settling. It's the cooler fall, winter months. And this is a time when I'm actually doing another parasite cleanse too. So I'm going to be doing their cleanse for the first time. Anyways, welcome back, everybody. Clearly, I practice what I preach here because one of the things that I see a lot of women struggle with in today's culture is like boss babe mode. Okay. And when I see women who are operating in this highly sympathetic nervous system state, they age faster because being in a high cortisol state is going to tank your adrenals. Your estrogen is going to be falling faster because the cortisol is elevated. And stress, although a sign of being alive, is really what ages us. So doing what we can to be that cool, calm, and collected, recharged version of ourselves, which does include having some fun. This is me giving you permission to do something that's fun, like going to a concert. I went to 2 days in a row. I went to a Max McNown concert with a girlfriend. And then the next day we went and saw the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays play in Game 4. And that was really, really fun. Going to a baseball game was actually a lot more fun than I thought it would be. And it's just good to do things that are a little different and be around different people. It's great for your brain actually to connect with people that might not have the exact same lived experience or values that you have. It's good for your brain. It cultivates new activities, cultivate neuroplasticity. So to keep that brain sharp, keep that brain active, and have a little bit of fun in the process. So to really set the tone for today's episode, I want to be focusing on this concept of honoring rest, joy, and balance as being essential components for radiance. That's why you're here. Radiance, hormones, and skin. And dear Laura, who I just did a call for, who said, have you been okay? I haven't seen your videos in a while. If she's thinking it, some of you probably have been too. And for radiance, sometimes we do need to prioritize our own fun and having some rest and doing some new things, which are exciting. And that's what this show is all about. Laura said some really beautiful things. Thank you, Laura, for your compliments. She said, I love to follow you, and just your videos really just like help me along. The podcast just helps me get through the day because of the way that you see things, the way that you move through things and talk about things. They really resonate with me. These were some of the things that she said, and I'm sure that's why you're here too. And of course, the hormones and the skin component are really key because when we're rested, when we're happy, when we're well fueled, we're hitting our nutrient targets, especially protein, 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight a day. Yes, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable actually in the day to consume that much protein. It really does make an effort, but for myself, it makes just a huge noticeable result in how I look in my body composition. And of course, the skin, we need key nutrients and these building blocks of life, which come from protein, amino acids. They are the building blocks of our DNA that is constantly re-replicating itself. Our skin is going through skin cell cycles every month or so. It does slow down as we age. So we need these building blocks. We need these amino acids. We need these peptides, which are it's kind of like shorter chains of amino acids than a whole peptide is, protein. But we need these different constituents, and I do love my peptides too. So to kick things off, I invite you all to do some breathing that I find is really helpful. And this is parasympathetic breathing. So if you're going through the day, maybe the kids are up to something, maybe your colleagues are, something's going on, you're working with clients, you're doing all sorts of things, something happens, maybe a pipe breaks in the house, stuff's always going to happen. Okay. It's just one of the key facets to being radiant is to be always ready, and it's to be always resilient. Hence talking about adaptogens, because they support your body's ability to be resilient and overcome stress, and look at stress and things that need to be done as obstacles, not roadblocks. So that's why always having those key nutrients and adaptogens in your system are really paramount to you continuing to show up as your best self on the inside and out. The breathing technique that I've talked about on the show, I'm going to ask that you actually do this multiple times throughout the day. I also do it while I'm at the gym and I'm about to do a heavy set. And yes, I do lift very heavy at the gym in an effort to put on as much muscle as I possibly can. And parasympathetic breathing is really simple. It's just taking a breath in for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, and then releasing for 4 seconds. And actually doing this about 4 to 6 times in a row, you'll notice that it can shift you out of, kind of a stressful state, high sympathetic nervous system state. We're getting a little bit more of that adrenaline and cortisol, which is going to age you faster, and putting you more into a parasympathetic state with a little bit more noradrenaline, which is not fight or flight, but more eyes on the prize, eyes on the target. How can we overcome this obstacle? So just a good little tip for you to navigate life, because the more stressed out you are, it's going to show on your face. The more happy and pleasant you are, the more it's going to show on your face with smiling and a pleasant demeanor. And it was so funny. I was leaving the gym the other day and this older gentleman said to me, I've never talked to him before. He said, "You're always smiling. You must be really happy." I was like, "Yeah, I am." And it's sweet when you start to hear these things actually mirrored to you from when you're doing this work. And you never know. Maybe you just walking around with a pleasant demeanor instead of the resting bee face throughout the day might actually make someone else smile too. And that's kind of this whole trickle down effect that is the beauty of radiance. Because when you're radiant and you're shining and you're living your purpose, you're remembering who you are, you have the ability to connect with others and maybe add a little bit of extra joy and pleasantness and happiness in their life too. And ladies, your husband is probably looking for more of that. All right. The honest truth, why I took a little bit of a break, the 3 weeks of not putting out an episode, I kind of started to feel a little bit guilty about it, especially over this last week. However, I'm just like, you know what? This is me time. I haven't had a holiday in way too long, and I've had a lot of fun, and I'm recharged, and I'm back, and more cool, calm, and collected, and happier than ever. So, very stressful, complex period in my life. Finally wrapped up, came to a close, was like a full-time job for a couple months leading up to it. For those of you in my close personal network, if you know, you know. Thank you for your ongoing support and trust. It has meant the world. It's so great when something happens and then your circle, your community, your team, your village shows up to support you without even really having to ask. That is a really beautiful thing to experience. And during this time, I knew that I needed to slow down a little bit because my body and my skin were literally talking to me. I had a little bit of a reaction to skin on my body. And I'd had this before about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, when I was exposed to a lot of forest fire smoke. I was moving, I was doing renovations. The body tells me. And for you, I would love for you to become your own kind of detective and notice when your body's under a little bit more stress. And this is getting into this concept that I love to talk about here on the show of the toxic bucket, oxidative stress status. We all have a toxic bucket. When that bucket gets full, what's going to happen is it's going to tip over and you're likely going to experience some degree of skin irritation. Whether it's skin irritation, eye irritation, scalp irritation, GI upset, fatigue, everyone has their own kind of like signal that their body's going to tell them. So get to know your body. Get quiet enough that you're not running a rat race on autopilot, that you can tell when something's up and you need to slow down a little bit, focus on your nutrients, focus on your movement, working out, self-care, prayer, meditation, reading those books, making sure you're getting those connections with the people in your life that you love and that you have fun with. Don't self-isolate. However, sometimes having that quiet time with reading a book, or I like to lie on my PEMF mat, or be in my sauna, or listen to some loving music, or a great podcast. These are all things that can be helpful for relaxing you. And also, it would be remiss if I forgot to mention getting that oxytocin hit too, which you're going to get through hugging, through cuddling, through making love. All of these things are going to be good for you. So how it felt when I was kind of going through this transition was I just needed a lot of time to recover. I noticed with my weightlifting in the gym, my hamstrings were taking a long time to recover, which is not normal. I can usually recover in about 2 or 3 days. So that was extended. So my body's ability to repair muscle, I noticed I was a little bit more stiff. So just see if you do work out regularly, which I recommend you do. I recommend you're hitting the gym about 3 to 5 times a week. Do lift heavy. It takes me about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get in my workouts, my stretching, my warm up, my cool down, getting those sprints in, lifting those weights, saying hi to my training friends. That's how long it takes me. You could probably blast out a great workout in about an hour, hour and a half. But that's about how long it takes me. And it does, I find, just really uplift my mood and my energy. And also, I love the social dynamic component of being at the gym and all of the different characters that are at the gym. It's just always entertaining. It's like cinema to me. So the poof moment, I want to talk about this poof moment when things started to shift after rest, after play, after recentering. And I've always had the sentiment in my life, it's always going to work out even better than I imagined. And I've been like this my entire life. I would run around the yard when I was a child in pink gum boots and crinoline and a little top. I wore this crinoline under a flower girl dress because I was a flower girl for my cousin's wedding many years ago. And I would run around the yard and I would say, God has a plan for my life. And then in my adult years, I've always said, it's always going to work out better than I could have imagined. And this is how things go because I literally speak this out. And there's lots of times when I'm talking with a dear friend or a client and I hear them say something that's somewhat self-deprecating or continuing a loop. So if you're stuck in a loop, have some fun, take a rest, focus on yourself, get yourself out of a loop, focus on that forward momentum of the trajectory of you really fulfilling your purpose and being present in your life and also those who you love the most, which does require rest, play, and recentering to be very clear on who you are, what you're here to accomplish. Hopefully you maybe remember some aspects of yourself. That's a whole other topic. That's more membership stuff. But even I, as someone who lives and teaches radiance, have to walk my walk and listen when my body whispers. I'm going to repeat that. Even I, as someone who lives and teaches on this very obscure topic called radiance that I don't hear anybody else talking and teaching and studying, I got to walk the walk, talk the talk, positive self-talk, right? And listen to when my body is whispering at me, or maybe it's even screaming at me with, a skin rash on the neck or what have you. You just get on it right away. You don't delay it. You might have been slacking on your self-care. Maybe your sleep hasn't been on point. Maybe you've eaten more processed foods. Maybe you're just not exercising quite as much. Just life's happening. And your body and your skin and your energy and your recovery is talking to you and telling you things are a little bit sluggish. I think that's a great time to add in extra intention with hitting your hydration, protein, and nutrient needs, your minerals, your vitamins, minerals, and cofactors, which you do need, and also the rest. Dialing in your skincare, right? There's all these seasonal shifts too, which I'm sure I'll talk about later. But why breaks are fun and biologically essential is also something to consider. Fun is a frequency, right? We got peace, love, and joy right at the top. Those hippies, they knew what life, thriving in life. We think about Woodstock and people are like, swaying to music, humming along. Well, actually, they're toning their vagus nerve while they're doing that. And they're humming to fantastic music. They're having fun. They're in the moment. Peace, love, and joy are the highest frequencies. Shame and anger and guilt are the lowest frequencies. And then, of course, enlightenment is at the top. A little note on enlightenment in a membership lesson, by the way, of an experience I've had. But fun is a frequency that heals. It's very restorative. And I know for a long time, actually, when I started to create YouTube videos, one of my patients last week, before she came to see me, she's the new patient. So we did a consultation. She's like, I checked you out online and I went down the rabbit hole of all the content that you've been putting out over the years. And when I first started to create content, I was so concerned with coming across as this uber professional, not very approachable, just way too polished and professional, to the effect where I actually initially named my business Polished and Professional. Hi, my name is Rachel Varga. Polished, look, come on. Nobody's going to relate to that. It was way too polished and professional. But having fun is still taking your life very seriously, and very important things that you need to be on top of as an adult. Having fun, though, is a frequency that is healing and that is restorative. To the effect, I'd even say it's better than going to the spa, right? So there is a connection between chronic stress and hormonal balance, very much so. And I've alluded to that with cortisol, with estrogen. There's also the thyroid component too. The look of someone who's in chronic stress mode, that elevated, always on sympathetic mode, fight or flight, as opposed to the cool, calm, collected, right? I see this all the time with clients online, with patients in the practice, that they meet with me on Zoom or in the clinical chair, and they're just cool, they're calm, I might have run a couple minutes late, but they're excited to be there. And of course, there's a respect component with being on time. However, sometimes life happens, and they just kind of roll with it. And these people who I find can be adaptable and resilient and roll with it, and not, sit there with their panties in a bunch or a bee in a bonnet or whatever type of saying you want to put on that. They're a positive Patty instead of a negative Nancy. And those people just have this more beautiful demeanor. One of my patients the other day, she was 84. She looked like she was in her 60s. I kid you not. She looked great. She looked fantastic. And it was actually, she'd done a few things over the years to care for herself from a rejuvenation perspective. However, it was the way that she spoke. It was the way that she moved. It was her ability to connect with me in conversation and with eye contact and body language and her styling and her hair. She is one of those types of lovely ladies who I've taken some notes from over the years. I've served many patients over the years since 2011 in the field of medical aesthetics. And some people just seem to be better at life and age better. And it's actually the way that they carry themselves. It's literally the way that they flow through life. And having this awareness of certain things to start with, so that you can make the change of how can we keep that cortisol down? Parasympathetic breathing, exercising, making sure your blood sugars are regulated so you're not going through the day and crashing and feeling stressed out and jittery because you haven't eaten enough, right? I'm sure we've all experienced that during our times of playing around with intermittent fasting and things like that. I actually do better when I have a big breakfast and a really big dinner, maybe a good little high protein snack in the afternoon. But big breakfast, protein snack in the afternoon, keeping up with hydration throughout with electrolytes, and then a pretty big dinner at about 5:30 or 6, a couple hours before I go to bed. Really, really helpful. And keeping that cortisol down is also going to help with your estrogen and your collagen and elastin, because cortisol tanks your collagen and elastin in your skin. Overdoing it with high output things, whether that's, you're a hockey mom, you have 3 kids. I actually went on a cruise with a lovely lady, Sandra, and she's a hockey mom. She's also a GM of an airline company, and she's a hockey mom with 3 boys. And so but I see her and we got on super well. We actually both really like very kind of like calm. We like calm, we like pleasant, we like beautiful scenes in nature and things like that. We got along just fine. We were like two peas in a pod. There's times when we need to be high output, right? When we're showing up for certain tasks, whether that's personal or professional. However, overdoing it or constant high output states taxes your nervous system, especially as women, and slows your glow. And why parasympathetic nervous system dominance, that 4 breaths in, hold for 4, exhale for 4, multiple times in a row, about 5 to 6 times in a row, 4 to 6 times, multiple times a day, actually for me over these last few months was kind of like this missing link that pulled different aspects of my own mastery together. Body, mind, spirit, energy, add the nutrients, add the nervous system component, add the strength component. Is really cool when you get to, you play around with these different things that you can do from biohacking perspective, from how you literally flow through the way that you wake up, the way that you eat. Are you standing there wolfing things down, or are you making sure you're chewing your food 20 times in a row kind of thing? And you're enjoying your food and you're enjoying the conversation and all of that. So parasympathetic equals rest and digest mode. We need the recovery times. And this is really a key component. That's what's going to activate your radiance mode. Now, breathing and humming, I've already mentioned, for vagus nerve toning is really important. And notice people who actually like hum a lot. How are they? Do they look a little bit more like calm and rested? Or I don't find that people who are in a high beta brainwave state or high beta brainwave state, what I mean by that is sometimes I'll listen to a podcast, and especially if it's a female speaker, they're speaking a million miles a minute. They're pushing information at you. If you miss out on one line of thing that they say, you're missing out. You missed it. You got to do this perfectly, just like this, very regimented. And I've seen this in many of my biohacking speaker colleagues over the years. They're tanking their adrenals. They're aging very quickly. And actually a couple of them over the years, because I've gone to, different events over the years again. I've been doing this a while. I find that a lot of them have actually noticed that the way that they've been operating and showing up, pushing information out in order to help people and really live their own purpose and make an impact and make a difference, they had to slow down. And I want you to consider, I desire for you to consider to slow down before your body gives you those signals. Like to just find a way to balance you living your life and enjoying life, having your alone time with others, having fun, while also accomplishing the things you need to do in life in order to adult in life. But breathing and humming along the ways is like just little micro breaks to dip you out of that sympathetic nervous system dominance and into parasympathetic nervous system dominance is something easy. Protein, hydration, electrolytes, adaptogens from, again, today's sponsor, Organifi. The link to access their products is in the description. Really important for stable energy. And one of the things I've noticed if I'm low on, say, magnesium and electrolytes is my recovery will be a little bit slower. I'll feel a little bit sluggish. I'll actually notice just like a little bit more jitteriness with my movements and muscle cramping. So muscle cramping, hamstring recovery. It was like, what the heck? Are my hamstrings taking forever to recover from doing RDLs, Romanian deadlifts? And then I was like, I haven't been taking my magnesium as diligently as I have historically. And then I took my magnesium that night and boom, the next day I felt way better. A good magnesium recommendation is from Bioptimizers. They're also on the biohacking page. So Organifi, Bioptimizers, magnesium, red light, sauna, water purifiers, air purifiers, electromagnetic protective clothing, different tools that I have throughout my home to set the home up for a rest and recovery biohacking haven. Those can be found on my biohacking page, all in one easy place, pre-vetted by me. at theschoolofradiance.com. Just go to the biohacking page and you'll find those things. The other thing I want to talk about is when it comes to why breaks are fun and biologically essential, things that are going to be supporting your biology is the heavy lifting and sprints. And so what we know about kinesiology and the study of movement, of weightlifting, cardiovascular, all these things, is that heavy lifting and sprints are great for full system mastery. And if you go on my Instagram, I actually shared a video of me doing wind sprints on a treadmill. And as many of you know, I was in a very long relationship with a professional athlete. So I'm very familiar with what is involved in being in an 8-week training camp. And for me to be able to do my sprints, so I'll basically actually max out a treadmill. So that could be 12.5 miles per hour. That was the max on the cruise ships. Or at the gym, I think it's like 22 or 23 kilometers an hour. I do 20 seconds sprinting on the treadmill and then 20 to 40 seconds resting. So just staying still, recovering, kind of swaying my hips, opening, keeping, things loose, things like that. Sprints are phenomenal for being a bit of a test, and I'll do wind sprints, usually around 6 to 8 rounds of it. That's an excellent test to see what your cardiovascular health and wellness is. So lifting heavy to failure, getting those sprints in, I think is much better than lifting light, like the girl weights, lift like a guy, and getting in sprints as opposed to long distance running, because the sprints, number one, it's more time effective, and it's better at reducing the visceral fat around your heart compared to long distance running, which is actually really difficult on your joints over time. And I think really peaks oxidative stress, or just like a really intense trigger on the body when you're doing long distance running. But walking, getting those 10 to 15,000 steps a day, and that's phenomenal as well. But really blending the heavy lifting, the sprints, getting those steps in for building resilience through movement. And when you get really good and fluid with your lifting heavy, with your sprints, with how you feel when you walk, just pretend you're on a runway. The mastery that's involved is from a recovery perspective, staying focused. So from a mental perspective, really focusing, being present moment awareness, telling and commanding your nervous system to lift that 50-pound dumbbell to RDL 225 pounds. Like, these are some of the things that I do. Shoulder press 40, I do 50 pounds sometimes. It's like big weight. And when you start to increase your weight, you're going to increase your confidence too, which is really fantastic. Be like, wow, I didn't know I was that strong. And for a lot of us, we're actually stronger than we think. So the nervous system component, it literally comes down to commanding your body to be in a more focused, radiant, resilient, dialed in state. And then everything you're doing throughout the day, from your skincare to the way that you're fueling your body, to the way that you're sleeping, to the way that you're having fun and recharging, are all going to have this like compound effect. With biohacking, when we say add purifying our water in our home, either with a whole home purification system or a countertop system, which I have on my biohacking page, or purifying your air, reducing bright LED lights overhead and switching to red lights instead, wearing blue light blocking glasses like what I'm wearing now, sleeping with the 8 Sleep to temperature regulate my sleep and track my sleep, sleeping with silver threaded EMF protective linens or blankets, or I'll travel with, my silver spacesuit. It's not actually a silver spacesuit, but kind of is. It's basically silver pants and a silver cute little hoodie, and I'll travel with that. All of these things are going to have like a 1, 2, 3, 4% increase on top of one another. So say, for example, if you were just living like 99% of the population, you're probably going to have chronic disease, autoimmune disease. You're going to be overweight. You're not going to have much energy, and you're not probably going to look great. Okay. But if you become that 1% with adding these different biohacking layers, you're going to stand out. You're going to be a more attractive partner. You are going to be more desirable in the workplace for much longer. And you're literally going to be looking and feeling better. Okay. And you do these things in self-care with your skincare, with your makeup, with your hair. I hope you love my cute little youthful braids that I've been doing lately. It's such a fun, kind of like cozy, cute look. You probably noticed that shift, a little shift with my hairdo. Having fun with all of this looking at like sleep and play as medicine. Really simple things that we kind of forget. Like I have 3 guitars, I've been meaning to play my guitars more. It can be a little tricky sometimes for me with the positioning, but I do love to play. I love to play the piano. I love music, love listening to relaxing music. So looking at all of the things that you're doing as medicine, you might be on some medication. Like this is not medical advice. This is educational information only. If you think you have a medical condition, you must seek the guidance of a licensed physician. I highly recommend you take a look at your labs and see what your levels are across the board, from your cholesterol to your creatinine to your thyroid to your trace minerals. Look at what's happening in your body, because you want to test instead of guess what you're doing. And that's what I love about biohacking. So if I'm doing something, say taking more magnesium or adaptogens, hitting my protein quota, having more fun, I'm going to have better sleep. I'm going to have better deep sleep. I'm going to have better REM sleep. And I'm going to have an increased HRV, which is heart rate variability, which is a measure of recovery. And my 8 sleep actually tells me those metrics. You could have the Whoop band or the Oura ring, but everything you're doing should be making impact, especially in your energy levels and your sleep quality. That's the best way to kind of say to yourself, okay, is this worth it from a time and money perspective? If it's giving you better sleep, it's worth it. So from burnout to radiance, regaining your spark, this is kind of like the elusive thing, right? How do we get our spark back? I actually think that spark is developed and it gets better as you age. And I see it in 70 to 90-year-old patients of mine. I'd love to reference the School of Radiance membership. These are where I get into the nitty-gritty nuances around radiance, getting your spark back, multi-system mastery. It's like once you know how to shed light on certain aspects of yourself and then modify them and play with what makes you feel better, then you can start to reap those benefits. And how increasing your radiance can impact your movements so that you have more attractive movements, your voice, your tonality, and your communication and your presence. These all make us more attractive. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to be more attractive? But it isn't just your skincare, your makeup, how you style your hair and your outfit. Literally, how you carry yourself is like a calling card of how well you care for yourself. The way that you look is directly related to how well you care for yourself, because we've all seen people who look great on social media. They have their styling on point, but their body composition, they might be a little bit heavier. They might be a little bit underweight. And I'm not here to shame anybody, right? Sometimes if I'm a little stressed out, I'm the opposite of a stress eater. I have to make sure that I'm hitting my nutrient goals and my protein quota, because in stress, I'll literally lose my appetite. Where on the opposite side of things, a lot of people will actually end up stress eating, or they will overindulge in drugs and alcohol. And they'll numb out. They'll distract themselves with movies and shows and social media. And it really becoming more present to who you are and what your needs are. Nobody is going to know what's best for you other than you and, God too. But when you're quiet enough to kind of hear those little niggles of like, oh gosh, my hamstrings just really aren't recovering. It's been like a week or 2 of like intense soreness. What's going on? I'm at Whole Foods, whole page walk. Oh, there's some magnesium there. I'm all out. I gotta get some or order some from Bioptimizers. And it's like, boom. The next day, those hamstrings are recovering faster. So those little like niggles or little reminders of you really should be getting back to doing that. You know, you've been hearing about this quite a bit. Okay, I want to give that a go too. So key takeaway from the latest class that I shared in the membership of really self-mastery on multiple levels and what those levels are and specifically what to do with all of those different layers. It's quite complex, but I make it easy. And I make it easy for you to do it in a way that has this outcome of allowing you to both look and feel your best and being in that beautiful, radiant feminine energy. And for the guys too, it's very, it's supportive for them too, because the polarity is something that's really beautiful between us. So flow through life relationships instead of forcing outcomes. This is really key. So when we're quiet enough and we're focused enough, then those outcomes can actually be even better than we imagine. And I experience that in my life all the time. So radiance is a coherence, it's an energy, it's this electromagnetic projection of the quality of all of your body systems operating in a certain way out into the world. And you're going to be your most beautiful, high vibe, gorgeous, radiant self the more all of your systems are tuned. Reflect on how my break, this break, a break for you, has had the opportunity to reconnect you to your alignment. So as soon as I finish my holidays, like, oh gosh, I got this to do. I got to knock these out of the park. These are the important tasks. Noradrenaline, parasympathetic, eyes on the prize. I'm going to get these done in the order of, what's the most important and what can be somewhat delayed. Because let's be honest, we only have so much time to do things. And for myself as a woman who's run multiple businesses over the years, entrepreneurs were built a little differently. Hockey mom of 3 boys, built a little bit differently, right? But regardless, whoever you are, however you're managing your life, whatever you have going on, just taking breaks sometimes can be so beneficial to give you that quiet clarity. I've always experienced this. When I'm my most creative self, that's actually when I'm my most excited self to create content and have new things to talk about. And it's this own personal journey that I have too. So anyways, reflect on how a break or a moment of fun has actually allowed you to reconnect with your own self and bring you into more alignment of who you are, what your purpose is, and how you can possibly impact the lives of others that you engage with day in and day out. Now we're going to talk about beauty and timing, supporting your skin and procedures as well. I'll be the first to tell you there's not much to me that's original. I've had a little bit of work done on myself over the years. There's nothing wrong with that. And some people, they don't want to do anything in the plastic surgery, cosmetic dermatology world, whether that's non-surgical or surgical. That's totally okay. If you do all the healthy living stuff, if you do the skincare stuff, you learn how to do your makeup, your hair, your styling, things like that, that's going to be great too. Okay. I've seen lots of people in their 60s, 80s that have never done anything in their lives from a rejuvenation perspective, and they look fantastic because their nervous systems are regulated and the way that they carry themselves, they have this beautiful presence to them. Now, that being said, if there's something that has been bothering you from a skin perspective, whether that's sun damage, so sunspots, age spots, brown spots, whatever you want to call them, skin redness, broken capillaries, hooding to the upper eyelid, lower eye bags, dark under eye circles, acne, fine lines and wrinkles, acne scarring, large pores, sagging to the jawline, lines to the neck, excess skin on the body somewhere, right? Skin changes on the body. There's lots of different things that happen as we age. Lip lines, right? Those vertical lip lines that we get on the lips. There's lots of really fantastic things that we can do in the clinic that have been around for decades. I'm not a fan of anything brand new or this brand new 10-step skincare routine or this brand new laser technology or this brand new injectable or this brand new surgical method. I always have had the 7 to 8 year rule. It really does take about 7 to 8 years for something to kind of hit the market and then, go through the approval process, hit the market, and then it's basically deployed on the general population who have varying degrees of inflammation and autoimmune diseases, which are doubling year over year, by the way, deaths from them anyways, and that I published in 2 of my research papers. We are all unique beings. Always prioritize your health and wellness prior to, say, in-clinic lasers, in-clinic injectables, or surgery. There's always great things you can do at home. Your skincare day in and day out, a solid AM and PM skincare routine. I have great products on my skin shop. I teach you how to apply your products from basic to advanced layers, including your skincare, retinols, peels, makeup, hairstyling, all sorts of stuff in my seasonal tutorials. And also in a one-on-one, I can walk through what you're using, what shifts to make, what things you could prioritize in the clinic to get you the results that you're after. Or you can come see me in the clinic in sunny Sydney, BC. So looking at rejuvenation, once you've well balanced all of these things that I've mentioned in today's show, is, I think, a phenomenal way to get the best results possible. If we go on message boards of people who have had issues after, say, injectables like Botox or fillers, for example, I would be curious if the people that have had those, unusual side effects also had a degree of elevated oxidative stress and inflammation. Their toxic bucket was full, or they're also dealing with autoimmune conditions. So that's why I wrote my last research paper on oxidative stress status and its impacts on skin aging, to essentially provide awareness to fellow practitioners to take a look at the skin. I actually had to decline doing dermal fillers on a lovely lady the other day because there were some signs of overt oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. And we always want to prioritize our health first. So looking at rejuvenation, whether it's non-surgical lasers or injectables or surgery, when you're feeling really good, you're going to have a faster recovery and likely better outcomes. Okay. But this is a fantastic time of year, the fall, winter, before the holidays, to get a little bit of a refresher of some of the wrinkle relaxers out there, maybe revolumize, maybe use lasers and light technologies to take care of sun damage and support new collagen, maybe even getting that eyelid surgery to take care of excess tissue, to reform the lower eyelid area and take care of eye bags, and maybe even have a facelift. Right? Sometimes I'm convinced that sometimes the facelift is actually the most economical option as opposed to, doing all these different things that are in the non-surgical side of things, when really surgery is potentially going to give you a better outcome and a more durable, long-lasting effect as well. So do rejuvenation not when you're feeling depleted, but actually when you're feeling really good. This allows your body to heal more optimally and also integrate the different treatments beautifully, because it's actually not one thing that's going to magically make you look 10 years younger, which we can oftentimes achieve with the non-surgical rejuvenation options. And then with surgical, sometimes we can get that 10 to 20 year improvement in our appearances. And integrating all of these things and weaving basically always your skincare, always your healthy living, sometimes some neuromodulators a couple times a year for fine lines and wrinkles, like lines between the brows and crow's feet and things like that. Sometimes fillers every couple of years to restore lost fat and bone and soft tissue in, say, the cheeks, the lips, marionette zone. Lasers a couple times a year for reds and for browns and for supporting collagen. They all work together really beautifully, and it's never going to be one thing, right? As convincing and compelling as those Instagram ads are for, you see someone's under eye bags completely disappear compared to the other side, or the other one that I can't stand is these gadgets. And the person will apply the gadget with like red light or whatever, microcurrent on one side of the face, and that one side of the face looks lifted, but well, actually, how did that side of the face look before they did that? Because maybe that was just naturally their more lifted side of the face, and the side that's looking lower, maybe that's their driving side, so they have more sun damage. Maybe that's the side that they sleep on, or just anatomically, that's the smaller side of their face. So I always get such a kick out of when I see these influencers or ads on social media for gadgets or for products. They seem a little too good to be true. They probably are. And it's always been my intention here on the show to save you time and money so that I sleep really good at night, that I do sleep well. So this season, fall, winter, is really ideal for leisure, rejuvenation, undoing the sins of the summer sun damage, lifting, facial softening, looking fantastic for the upcoming holiday season. You're going to be going to events, you're going to have your photos taken. If there's something that's bugging you, whether it's fine lines, wrinkles, or skin texture, pigmentation, there's a lot of really great options. So you can book a one-on-one if you're out of town, or if you're local to the Vancouver Island area, come see me in sunny Sydney, BC. You can go to theschoolofradiance.com to book your appointments with me. And lastly, I actually see a lot of out-of-town patients. I actually had an aesthetic doctor from Arizona come and see me for her injectables, which is pretty cool. So I do have patients fly to see me. I have for many years, from all over the world: France, Germany, Dubai, New York, California, all over. But sometimes it's nice to meet first on a one-on-one virtually, say over Zoom, give you a plan, and then when you come and see me, we know what that plan is and can deploy it effectively. And the skincare tweaks that I'd like, that's actually why I started showing up online in the first place, was because people were finding me online and then coming to see me. So anyways, basically why I started an online business. So skincare tweaks I do want you to make now is for drier indoor heated months. So you're probably going to want to ramp up your exfoliation, right? Doing the Scrub This on My Skin Shop's great one, 2 to 5 times a week in the bath or the shower. Rinse it off fully after cleansing. And then maybe ramp up to using, say, the Carbon 60 serum on My Skin Shop, an antioxidant serum, and then like a heavy moisturizer. And the products that I've made are literally named light moisturizer, heavy moisturizer. It's pretty self-explanatory what those moisturizers do. I made it easy for you, okay? But these drier indoor heated months, we really do need to ramp up our hydration and still exfoliation. Add nourishment, hydration, barrier supporting ingredients. You still want to keep up with your sunscreen. So your mineral sunscreen, I have some fantastic ones on my Skin Shop on high real estate areas every single day. Face, eyelids, neck, chest, sides of the neck, the hands, even the upper arms. Don't slack on your sunscreen in the fall, winter months. Really important. Radiance is an inside out and outside in collaboration, right? Everything you're doing should be making an impact. So taking time off, resting, having fun, recharging is not a setback. It's a strategy. And I want to encourage you all to check in with your own nervous system, your energy, and your joy levels. Are you having enough fun lately? Have some more fun. You'll look cuter. And I invite you to continue to tune in to the School of Radiance podcast. Share this episode with a friend or family member. And for the deeper dive on the things that, I just don't want the general population to know that I do behind the scenes, I'm not comfortable sharing, or, might not be ready for employing these shifts and the different things that you want to do and navigate as you're doing them. The membership is a much deeper dive option on really amplifying your radiance. Your glow thrives when you play, rest, and breathe as much as you strive. Play, rest, and breathe as much as you strive. Okay, keeping those things balanced, everybody. All right, I love you all so much. This has been a really fun episode to record. Thanks so much, Laura, for your honesty, because she was wondering if I was okay. More than okay, just needed to take a little bit of time to rest and recharge and have a little bit of fun so that I can continue to show up as my most beautiful, high vibrating self for all of you, because not a lot of people in the podcast biohacking skin space really blend all of these different components together, and all of these different layers are actually what's going to give you the best results possible, from your at-home skincare to your in-clinic rejuvenation, to your energy levels, to your body composition, to how you simply show up and be the best version you possibly can be. And I believe in you. Look forward to seeing you all again right here on the School of Radiance podcast.